All right. Here we go. I am really, really excited for this episode. You might see I even switched up. I got a different camera working. We got the lights on pretty bright, maybe even too bright. But couldn't be more happy to have an old time friend and just really excited to have him on. And it is Pareen. He is the founder community lead at Monad. And yeah, he's just such a superstar when it comes to empowering founders and builders. And I just really want to give a shout out to you, Pareen. Here, hop up here on stage, just around like joining us on Community with Co-Unity late at night, while you're like in the middle also of helping other founders and just driving things forward with where you're at. I mean, I think the network school space is so interesting and so cool. But anyways, before I get too far carried away, I'd love for you to give a little bit of a short intro and yeah, tell me where you're at right now.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Dan. Really great talking to you, as always. Uh, yeah, I'm at network school right now. What I do at Monad is support founders. Essentially, the uh, Monad team is now has now divided support for devs and founders separately. So there's a whole team that takes care of devs. And my job here is to figure out who's willing to risk a few years of their life at least, ideally 10 to 15 years of their life on one project or one problem or one user segment. And those are the ones that we consider to be founders. These are people who are super obsessed with whatever they're doing, and uh, they essentially need support of a very different kind. These are people who end up building sustainable apps or protocols on a chain. And uh, what I do here is essentially create scalable and non-scalable support. So we have a platform called Delta V that we are making for founders. We have a community that resides on Telegram specifically for founders who are shipping on a weekly basis. That's our motto. That's how we identify which founders to be really bullish on. And then, as a part of non-scalable support, we have the whole ecosystem team that actually works one-on-one with founders. We have a VC network and an angel network that pours in capital. I think founders building on Monad have already raised more than $70 million, if I'm not wrong. And uh, then we have these programs. One of the programs that I'm running right now is at Network School in Malaysia, where we've invited 8 teams to live with us for 2 weeks, where they're going to go through an intense experience to really refine whatever they are doing, crunch the timeline so well that they end up getting a few months' work done in these 2 weeks. And eventually, at the end, there's going to be a demo day where we have more than 210 investors, some of them showing up physically. A lot of them are online from across the world who are going to listen to these pitches, and our aim is to get them seed funded.
Wow. Yeah, like there's a big system that you're part of. That's really interesting. I think I'd love to go deeper into different parts of that. I've got a few things kind of written down, segmenting off of some of those different elements that you spoke about there. But just to like rewind a sec as well and get a little more deeper into Pareen. I know, like fun fact, MetaCamp, a little experience in Costa Rica is what brought us together. Shout out to all the meta campers. That was a really great, intensive, kind of similar parallel component to what you have going on Network School, but this collection of different founders and different people, very passionate about the space and curated. And yeah, the connections that were built there were really strong because we spent over a week together and
Yep,
yeah, and in the beautiful beaches of Costa Rica, so it's like
made
interesting to
friends.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then you run into each other all over the world at different conferences and everything. So yeah, just had the memory flashbacks of Costa Rica, which are really great times together there. I would love to just out of curiosity, from what I understand, you wrote or tweeted about, I think, this element of focusing on like shaping founders versus like just separately kind of like nurturing developers. And then Monad, did they like see some of that or that's what they're looking for? Or they matched with that kind of ethos and that vibe? How did you end up basically making the move into Monad and already sharing this kind of principle of understanding like founders need to have an element of nurture into like product and building and these different types of things? I'm curious to hear that journey.
So I think I was running an incubator before this, from 2021 to 2023, with a friend. We just started saying, hey, we need separate support for founders. Let's see what they want. So for the first year, we were basically getting on calls with thousands of founders and asking them, how can I help you? And we got to know a bunch of things. The insights were amazing when we did that. And we ended up building this network of investors, mentors, and a small team that would actually support founders. We were based out of India and Dubai. And I think last cycle, we got almost every good startup was part of our incubator from this region of the world. Uh, we proved the model works, same concept. We emphasized on weekly shipping. We built a platform where all of this coordination was happening. We had chapters in 20 cities across the world. We did demo days across the world. I think in that we got more than $15 million funded uh, within a year of really starting to execute this. That felt really awesome. The problem with that was we could never get attention or be taken seriously in the US largely because the brand name was that, okay, these guys operate in India. And that hurt us a lot for a while. And I realized that we had really peaked in India. We had captured the entire market actually, but and we were operating with a very lean, small team that we had trained ourselves, super young people. We'd raised a bunch of money, but then what do we do after this? And I really wanted to play on the global stage and figure out how we can do this. So I quit that. My co-founder is still running that and doing a bunch of things, really interesting ones there. But I was just like, okay, I'm done. Let's figure out what to do. So uh, I was running a bunch of residencies as a hobby in different places and participating in a bunch of residencies to learn what's going on. I talked to a bunch of chains, and everyone was still into hackathons and DevRel stuff and other things. And everyone was like, yeah, join us, but uh, not really serious about creating a separate funnel, essentially. And last year, 2024, December, during ETH India, I organized this residency called Founder House, where we invite 10 founders to live in a villa for 10 days. While I was doing that, Keone was a speaker there. We invited him, and he was nice enough to come talk to the founders for 3 hours. And there were just 10 of them. While in every other event, there would be hundreds of people. So I was like, why is he spending so much time with just 10 people? And we got to talking. I sent him my thesis saying, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I've understood. Sustainable apps and more users that we complain about, that Web3 doesn't have new users. It's not probably a UX problem. It's a problem that devs don't want to do real marketing and get real users, whereas we are actually not supporting founders in the way that they deserve to be supported. So he said, interesting. I talked to almost everyone in the team, a lot of people, and everyone said, okay, this is interesting. What do we do together? And I think Monad was the only chain that really said, okay, do what you want to do. Uh, it seems like this thesis is right. So let's create a founder community. And I joined Monad in January. Uh, yeah, after that, it's been the most amazing ride that I've ever experienced. Uh, yeah, laid a lot of groundwork. Now we have a portal where a lot of coordination happens between founders and community and the Monad team. Uh, we have bunch of people shipping on a weekly basis, uh, posting it on Twitter, including Keone. He posts what he's done during the week on Twitter, which is pretty crazy. And now we are solidifying this with a bunch of focus programs, residency being one of them. Uh, Essentially, it has to become a founders network where founders start interacting, helping, collaborating with each other. And that's something that scales. That's something that Web3 lacks in that sense. And generally, founders are pretty lonely, uh, and they don't know who can relate to their journey. Their families don't understand this. Friends don't understand what they're doing. Why are they going on a journey where the chances of survival is so low, probably less than a percentage, and even lesser in Web3 because things are pretty fast and it changes, the industry changes pretty quickly. So now we are creating this nice little community. It exists already. And the Monad Eco team is one of the best eco teams that I've seen. Uh, Everyone helps founders in different ways with different kinds of expertise. So uh, yeah, I think this is like the perfect setup, perfect environment to become the place. So if you're building something seriously in Web3 right now, you literally get everything in Monad ecosystem. And that's something that makes me even more bullish, but work much harder to make sure that we end up supporting and building a bunch of apps or protocols that will break through crypto Twitter. We've been encouraging people to do that for a long time now, saying, hey, forget about crypto Twitter, go outside and really find people who want to use your apps. How do you even think like that? And bringing in a lot of Web2 ethos, frankly speaking. So shipping comes directly from Elon Musk and YC. And the second thing that we emphasize on very hard is retention. So are you focused on retention metrics? Because last few years, I think everyone has learned very hard how to game the sign-up metrics. Saying I have 500,000 users basically means you have 500,000 wallets. Most of them are going to be bots. Great, okay, let them be, but is there retention, which is DAUs, which is volume per user? Are you creating sticky habits or not? So bringing in a lot of Web2 ethos in that sense.
You're like speaking my language here when it comes to these metrics and these things. Obviously, I mean, these are the community, core pillars and components, which is this element of loyalty building, this element of retention. I was thinking a lot about this as well, this similar trajectory of, the attention economy and how much hype and how much, um, incentives have been flying around in different places around just getting like awareness and attention, and really just not a lot of things moving the needle to go from attention into retention, like into contribution, into participation, like really getting to the core center ethos of those things, which is everything that we're working a lot on right now as well. Like the different strategies and systems, which different tools combined together work really well for projects, all sorts of different things. So this is super aligned. A question that we like to ask everyone is generally near the beginning is like, what is your definition of community? How would you define the word?
Oh, wow. Okay. Uh, I think it's a bunch of people whose values are aligned. That's super important. There needs to be definition of what these values are, at least internally, maybe, if not published anywhere. Usually they come together for a cause. Maybe the cause might be very self-centered, but still it's a cause. And uh, they have a culture that binds them together. For us, the culture is posting weekly updates, cheering for each other, uh, giving feedback, very honest, very tough feedback to each other. They get tough feedback from on our team as well. And uh, everyone wants each other to succeed in a very collaborative way, but they're still super focused on what they are building. So you help everyone succeed by becoming successful yourself. So
Mm,
in that sense, I think every community has these three elements, and subconsciously or consciously, they have been the good communities that really sustain for a long time have embedded these three elements in themselves.
totally. And I think like it's really interesting hearing your answer there with you use the word values a lot. I thought about values Dow and how much like your answer kind of parallels off of your work a little bit with that project or kind of what you're working through there. I don't know if you want to do a super brief summary of it, but I think it's kind of interesting around how it aligns a lot with your definition there.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's an abandoned project at this point, but I think I learned a lot there. Uh, it's very hard for me not to see someone's values when I talk to them or
Mm-hmm.
generally have some kind of ongoing relationship with them. Uh, it just feels like at this point, uh, the world is going pretty crazy. We were guided by religion for the longest time in human history, and now we don't have that anymore. So, what do you really, really use to find or build alignment? And I think someday it would be worth writing about what really happened in Values DAO. But uh, I think the app generally is pretty cool. It still works, and a lot of people are just using it to find their own values. Uh, where does it go from now? I don't know, frankly speaking, but I'm hoping that someone picks it up and runs with it someday.
Yeah, I just the ethos of just like understanding, the more you can understand people's values, the more you can understand alignment. And similar to the way our name, came about was the definition of community can be thought of like a group of people with a common unity. And so like co-unity is kind of like stemming splits from that of like the definition of a group of people who are all aligned, right? And yeah, like lots of similar aspects to how the people everyone's answered this question who comes on. It's great to hear a little bit of different flavor with it. And one of the components you even tapped into, I think, when you're looking at like minimum viable community, like an MVC, they talk about these three themes, which you kind of really referenced in those three aspects, which is like the identity, like who is it, and that kind of purpose. And then the next part, the second one is the experiences, like what are they doing together? Like what's the actual substance of it? And the third one being just like the structure, like where is it hosted? Like what's the element of how like the community operates. So it's cool to hear that. And speaking of like sections or things that you've gotten into around the community stuff, the Delta V program. I checked out like the platform I went on. I actually made myself my own little founder profile as well and
Oh,
filled it out,
wow.
submitted it, and I thought it's really interesting. And then even just looking at the questions and the startup profile thing and everything, curious like where does it go beyond that? Tell me more about Delta V and like where it kind of came from, the problem it's like solving a bit, or like it's been a bit of like a journey, it seems, by your eyes.
I don't think I'm supposed to say too much. There's a lot being done internally. Uh, but essentially, delta V means, the velocity that you need to go to the next orbit.
Mm,
So uh, it's just a quirky name that we thought of. But from a community perspective, Delta V has now become a very vibrant place. It's just a Telegram group in that sense, but it's become a pretty vibrant Telegram group uh, where these founders are just getting inspired by each other, shipping on a weekly basis. They are collaborating, integrations are happening, partnerships are being forged without us having to mediate those. Plus, they are learning from each other. We have a section in the portal called Academy where we post interesting articles, primers. So if you want to learn fundraising or hiring or marketing, you just go and subscribe to those topics, and then you get an email in your inbox every week. Uh, we have a bunch of programs that we are running there. And uh, now the third thing that we've released there is also a community feedback feature. So community can actually come in and give you feedback as a founder. All of this happens only if you're posting weekly updates. So on Delta V as a founder, when you create a startup profile, you can actually post weekly updates there. And uh, I think the next step is that I can talk about actually is that we're going to enable a lot of investors to see these updates so they can spot the winners before anyone else can. And our team definitely uh, is there, but we want to enable wider community and investors to come in and start interacting with these startups and founders and their profiles. So
mm,
think of it as a motion picture of a startup's life. Typically, what we see is their deck or their website or the product. It's a snapshot, right? It's in time today. It keeps updating, but no one's looking at that. But when you take into account the weekly updates, it's actually a motion picture of a startup's life. So you can
mm,
actually see how their DAUs are going up there. And that's been pretty awesome. Some founders have streaks now, which is months of posting weekly updates. Some founders have actually started really answering very hard questions. When you create a startup profile, some of these questions are really hard and specific, but answering them gives a very holistic perspective because founders are very zoomed in and they can't zoom out very easily. So with these questions, they can actually zoom out. So it's a very single player tool at this point, and community has just started interacting with it. Uh, yeah, and I post my weekly updates there as well.
nice. No, that's really um, yeah, that's really interesting. I think like one of the things that the analogy of it being like a startup is really more of a motion picture versus like a screenshot in time. Uh, it can be more true, and obviously getting that perspective is really useful for projects and whatnot. Um, there's something that, like you, I think, mentioned a little about like resilience in teams, which I thought was really an interesting insight, like monorail, post Luna and some other things. Like, how do you like foster that kind of resilience in a founder? Like, I'm curious a little bit around like the discipline for doing these updates each week, filling out this information and grinding as a founder. What kind of like traits or things have you seen or conversations have you had around the topic of like founder resilience? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, I think for founders who are shipping, this is a way to show off, actually. For those who are not shipping, it creates guilt. It creates some kind of negative feeling saying, oh, I did not do enough. I don't think there are any founders who don't do anything during the week, right? There are weeks when I'm pretty lazy and I'm just like not getting things done, right? I'm working on things that are perpetually in progress or something that's not really significant. It's just very insignificant stuff. That's okay as well. Like, we are okay if someone comes in and posts, I was pretty lazy this week and I didn't do much. No worries. That's okay. Did you show up? This just builds trust in the founder. So Monad team sees this, they develop trust in a founder. Community sees this because they post it on Twitter. So they develop a lot of trust in the founder. And this is a quality that they will have to have at some point in time. Because if you raise some money or if you have some significant product that's churning some money, uh, you can't not show up. If you not if you don't show up, then that creates a lot of anxiety and pressure in the community, in your users, in your team also, right? As a founder, you maybe are running a 10 people team. And what happens if the founder just disappears for a week? That team would lose faith. So you don't want that to happen at any point in time. Weekly updates, in my mind, are momentum, and startups are built on momentum. So if you have it, it's bragging, actually. It's really bragging at the end of the day. So you feel good about it, and your community is like, yeah, wow, this project is doing so well. So why would
Hmm.
you not do that? Uh, if you're not shipping, it's okay to admit that we are all human beings, no one can have great weeks all the time. Uh, but in those bad times, can you show up and say, hey guys, I just got 2 tweets done, but I didn't do anything else this week? No problem. Actually, everyone respects that. And good founders sometimes miss these things. Their product is good. They understand the problem very well. Their tech is awesome. But if you don't show up, what good is this tech going to do? People don't bet on tech, frankly speaking. People bet on people. So I keep saying this that I don't follow Ethereum's handle on Twitter. I follow Vitalik, right? And same with every other project that I really like and can follow. So at the end, we are here for the people. So if the founder shows up and says, sorry, I didn't do much today or this week, I'm maybe even feeling a little low. It's not going the way it should be, or 20 VCs rejected me. No problem. That's awesome. That's an update, actually. Right? You got something done, which is getting rejected by VCs. No problem. But if they hide and they just don't show up, something's usually wrong. In my previous company, when we built this platform, we saw a very clear correlation between for companies that were getting funded and companies that were really posting weekly updates and showing up. Uh, we had a team from Africa who came in and started posting updates for no reason. We didn't invite them. We were not even operating in that market. Uh, we were frankly not supporting them at all, right? Because it's not our area. But they kept posting relentlessly for 6 months. And one of our team members noticed that they got funded uh, by a US VC and moved to US. And when we talked to them, they were like, hey, this was my way of holding myself accountable. I don't care about your incubator or your business or your VCs or whatever you have. And they just actually did not care. So I do believe that there is a very clear correlation between founders who are showing up no matter what. Could be the worst bear market, worst thing that has ever happened. Uh, but someone just says, hey, I'm here. Okay. Maybe we win, maybe we don't. That's never guaranteed in early stage startup scenario. But can we at least be honest about things? Then that's awesome. And this I'm talking about the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is where you say, like, one of the startups in this residency just ended up doubling their numbers in 2 days. Okay, they ran one campaign and within 2 days, their numbers just doubled. And this is a consumer app. So it's very hard to do something like this. But now they will be so happy to post this. Plus, their community, when they reach that on Twitter or in their Discord, they would be elated to know that the project that I've been supporting for months now has just achieved 2x growth in 2 days, which is crazy.
No, that's really inspirational and incredible words. I think it makes a lot of sense. I totally heard something the other day too around, you know, seeing a lot of obviously opportunity in failure. Failure is just like a currency. Sometimes you just need to get through enough of it to bring you to your next win, right? And I think that's really cool how you mentioned the analogy component of, you know, you follow like and listen to Vitalik, not like Ethereum. And I noticed on the startup profile side of things too, um, there's an element of another incubator, Sozu House with Mantle, and they mentioned bringing like builders, and they don't even care if you're building on Mantle. They're just like, just come build, be with other founders, and like we support you in that. And I see there's a little bit of that same ethos, I think, with this some of the startup profile stuff. I'm sure. Do you guys have even other founders who it's more about the founder themselves and like the chain and whatever they're exactly building isn't as relevant? It may end up moving to Monad potentially. It may not. Like I don't know. Like what's the ethos there with the approach on like founder led versus kind of tech?
So another reason why I actually joined Monad after talking to so many chains is because Keone was the only one who said, I don't believe that early stage ecosystems that are this tribal and restrictive will succeed in the long run. Uh, my previous company was multi-chain, although we were almost completely funded by Polygon. We never became exclusively Polygon, right? We supported a lot of Solana startups from India, and somehow it just worked. Mm, what I believe in Monad specifically is that the team, the ecosystem, the community, and the network is so good. The tech also, of course, is so good that uh, founders will just see it and become Monad native, whatever that means. So uh, we don't need to mandate that. We don't need to be so tribal that, hey, you will not be in Delta V unless you deploy on Monad. Uh, just to give you some numbers, like for the residency, actually, I don't know what's the distribution in Delta V. We don't have super advanced dashboards at this point. We just have very limited devs doing experiments here. But uh, one thing that I noticed is for the residency, we got 220 applications, and 45% of them are non-Monad teams. We do have teams right now in the residency that are not deployed on Monad testnet. But once they see the kind of support that we provide, I'm pretty confident that they would want to make Monad their home. They just see it, and that just shows how secure Monad is in itself. Saying we know what we are doing here, and we are pretty confident about what we are doing here, which actually is an edge. I've worked with a lot of ecosystems. I think most of them have to be tribal because they don't have this edge. They are not that secure in themselves. And in some way, uh, that actually kills the whole early stage ecosystem. Because if I meet a founder today, let's say at network school, and they're building on Solana or something, and I'd be like, oh, why should I support you? Why should I review your deck right now? I don't want to. That's actually, in my mind, it just doesn't fit. It's like Y Combinator saying, I will only support startups that build on Google Cloud and not AWS. Be like, what the hell? Right? That's not how it's going to work. So we support everyone, but the support is so good that you want to be Monad native. You really want to come in and be deeply embedded in the ecosystem, not just have it as one more chain that my app is deployed on. And this has happened. We see this all the time.
Interesting. No, I love this element. And I kind of prompted one of the questions, and I'm going to share like a screen here now. Actually, I'm going to pull my screen up. But first, it's going to be a little bit of a throwback because I think I might have even, I can't remember if I showed you this in Costa Rica or not, which was this
That feels like a
analysis.
lifetime ago.
I know it does feel like a long time ago, so I don't even remember. But I did this analysis on Monad quite
Oh,
some time ago.
yeah.
Um, and there's an element of just like what I'm curious to like kind of go into. My question is around Monad, like the cult like community of just the massive community is huge. Like the way that the whole entire community is rallied around like the memes, around like the culture itself, um, and really came together really strong. And like a lot of what we've been talking about is this like component of now even like the strong ecosystem support as like the next big layer up from my perspective, right? Which I don't have mapped out here at all. So when I was looking at the main massive community of Monad, this was basically my analysis walking through Discord and taking like screenshots of every single step of onboarding and looking at what where people were moved and then like
Yeah, I
where
remember
everything was
this.
tracked. We walked
Oh,
together on this before you were even at Monad, right?
yeah.
Interesting,
Oh,
maybe
man.
foreshadow, maybe.
This is all Bill Monday. Bill
Yes,
Monday
yes,
is,
Bill, totally.
I mean, I
Here he
think
is.
the entire team at Monad, and of course, I'm biased, no doubt about that. But I would definitely say entire team at Monad is just so good at what they do. Uh, Bill, of course, does community. We have intern who does growth. We have a lot of people who are just way too good. And I think we were just talking about the campaign that happened yesterday, and Monad at peak went to 68% mindshare on Kaito, which has
Jeez,
never happened before.
that's
And this
wild.
is without any incentives, right? It's very clear that this campaign doesn't have any incentives, but it happened. And Tunes is the one who actually did this, which is just in my mind like, wow, I'm privileged to work with these people.
It was almost like too much mind share. People were like, "Can't get this monad off my. I
For
can't get this
sure.
monad off my feed."
I
um,
know, I know. I felt that for 2 hours. I was just like, uh, what's happening here? But the kind of people who were sharing it were actually competitors. This has never happened before. I think other chain folks sharing cool things has never happened before. I don't think there is a better community out there. And I don't think there are better growth minds out there in Web3, at least. I'm not sure outside, I haven't thought, but at least in Web3, I don't think people have
yeah,
never thought about this. In fact, they want to generate engagement by fighting with other chains, right? And I'm like, this is how you embrace everyone who's hating on you.
yeah. It's like I've learned a lot, like reverse engineering and looking through, like historically mapping out, as you even say, it's a motion picture on even some of the community development, and just learn so much. Like seeing things on Twitter,
We should
people
show
getting like
this to Bill Monday.
tattoos. Yeah, I need to actually. I chatted with him in Singapore last year. and I told him a little bit
Mm.
about this, but I hadn't showed him it. But I'd love to. It'd be interesting to chat about. But yeah, I agree. Like what the work that he did, as like I love how he's like cult leader instead of head of community because the
Yes, yes.
it's great, but it's really interesting for me now hearing more from you on like Monad's not just like this cult community and that's just like hype around awareness and like mind share and um like memes and mascots and all this stuff and random things like that, where if you ask a lot of those people to get more into the tech, maybe you don't get some of the best answer. There's there for a lot of like the vibes and the people and like stoked on the vision of it. But then there's this other layer that you're operating in a lot with, which are like the founders, the ecosystem support with Kione and like the shipping and all that, which is really really cool to hear that there's like a whole nother layer that you can have this massive one of a lot of awareness and attention and interest and whatnot. But then there's like pathways for you to go to apply, make a founder profile, make a startup profile, start shipping consistently, weekly updates, putting that time in. I love the video that you did recently walking around the network school talking about like hedging versus going all in. I watched that. I watched that whole video,
You
and
have
I
to
think
go all
that's
in.
you gotta go
Uh,
all in. You know,
yeah, I mean,
um,
so because I'm telling these founders to post videos, I'm like, what's happening is I am feeling guilty that I don't post videos. And we have a media team here as well. So, I mean, if I were to just count the number of components and kick-ass people and things happening in Monad, it just feels like it's a juggernaut. Of course, Keone is a superstar. James, I don't usually talk about tech, but oh, it is something else, right? There's a lot that I'm not even qualified to talk about, frankly, but I can see it. I can see the way they built it is very slow. I wouldn't say like slow, actually. They've been at it for the longest time, but it's not like they want to skip some steps, right? It's not like there is a internal culture of no shortcuts, right? Which means if you want to do something, really do it so well that it's actually very opposite to Web3 ethos in that sense. You don't want to fork another thing and just copy pasta something, right? Uh, you want to actually take existing learnings and then build something that is on the frontier, and
mm,
everything is on a frontier. Similarly, I have to say this, like we have this whole, I don't even know what to call it. It's a division or something. It's a media arm called Pipeline, run by Danny and Jessup. And there's a studio in New York, fully equipped, massive studio. They do live streams, they do shows, they do content. We have two media team members here at Network School who are basically probably the most hardworking people in the whole cohort right now. And uh, they told me that, this is how you should do video and this is how you just go and do it and how to, what app to use and just tips on, again, the fact that it's never going to be easy, so you better do it as fast as possible. Same is the case with our DevRel team, Elton, Harpal. All of these people are just so kick-ass at what they do. It's not funny at this point. Uh, we have someone, Karma, who leads NFTs, and NFTs on Monad are so cool. I have been trying to buy it, but I haven't been able to actually. I don't have that much Mon untested, but they are really, really cool. Uh, the communities, NFT communities, some of these communities came out of Monad culture
mm-hmm,
organically
mm-hmm,
because there are drawing sessions in Monad Discord and there are karaoke sessions, yoga sessions in Monad Discord, and they ended up drawing these Mon animals, and these Mon animals sort of became mascots. It's not like Monad team has done this. Community has made these animals, and now this IP is being used by everyone to do whatever fun things they want to do. There are soft toys being made. Oof, the amount of work that has been done in last 3 years. People keep saying 3 years, there's no mainnet. But I think the testnet already feels like mainnet because people have real DAUs. So if it's a consumer app where there are DAUs, I do believe that these DAUs count for a lot more than just saying, "Hey, here's testnet. Oh, it doesn't matter. These numbers don't matter." That's not true. Someone's opening the app on a daily basis and just playing games on it or doing sports betting on it because even though there is no real
Mm.
money, and then sharing out on Twitter, chatting with their friends, doing different things. So in some way, all of these people have just been chosen because they are the best in their field. And I would say compared to everything else in the ecosystem, founder community has been started last probably. So I have a lot of ground to cover here and just catch up with everything else that's been happening, frankly speaking. Uh, I think it's going to win because of the tech, for
Hmm.
sure. But the ecosystem is so good with it, which is pretty rare. Sometimes I don't know how this happened, frankly. And a lot of people do criticize because the culture is such that you have to get into the lore, you have to understand, you have to spend time with it. But I think that's good. It's not about, insiders, outsiders, or whatever. It's about the
It's good
fact that
fiction.
anyone who shows up and spends time actually
Hmm.
gets accepted and welcomed by the community, help
Hmm.
from the ecosystem, and everything that you need, which is how it should be, right? So that goes very well with the community building ethos that we talked about, the three things before
Yeah,
we got into Monad.
totally. And actually, you know what that would be a good segue into? We love to share a tool and a framework as well. I'm going to pull open this framework first, which is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this model, but this is BJ Fogg's behavior model. So for any behavior to occur, there needs to be at the same moment in time, like a motivation, like a human desire of some sort. There needs to be ability. So like I'm actually capable of doing this. And there needs to be like a prompt. Actually, in 2017, it used to be Matt. It used to be a trigger, but he changed trigger to prompt. But you can think of it, it's like a catalyst for something to occur. And so what this chart's showing, let's just break this down briefly because it's a little bit much, is if you have a lot of ability, so it's like easy for you to do that thing, you're skilled, you're talented in this element, but you've got low motivation, like you don't have a desire to really do it, um, then the prompt kind of fails. Like if there's a call to action or something, like you won't actually do it. It falls below this line, which is that activation threshold. And on the flip side, if you've got a lot of motivation, you're like super passionate, you have a desire to do this thing, but it's really hard to do, and you're not just like even capable of. This is where like learning or figuring out something blocks you. Then that lack of ability makes the prompt seem frustrating, and then maybe you don't learn it, and then yeah, it fails. It's underneath this activation threshold. And so it's really interesting. Like this is often utilized for when it comes to like even product and like how do you design product where you get people to take an action to use your product. And this is what you're looking for, whether it's transactions or whether it's just like playing the game that you've created or minting the NFT and whatnot. Like that requires a behavior of the motivation of ability to do it. Maybe you don't know how to mint a NFT, or you don't have a wallet, or you're not sure how to set up on Web3, but you're really passionate about it. Then you need to be educated so that you can get over that activation curve around like designing product flow stuff. But I think it's also super relatable to community design and like getting people deeper in your community, and to moving more into participation, and engagement and advocacy. Like we're doing a lot of this work ourselves. We've been starting to do ambassador programs as a service, and creating structures and systems and operations to help run ambassador programs. And so getting and finding the people who have the high motivation, who are very interested in the brand or in the project, or they love what they're doing, but maybe they don't have a strong ability on like writing content. Maybe they don't have really good content writing skills. So how do we get them kind of across that border of prompt and ability to kind of move over this activation curve, right? And the flip side, you might have people who've got really great content writing skills, or they're really, good at breaking things down, or they're even like a developer themselves, but they're not that interested in the project. They're not that motivated by the program. Then it's a motivation issue, right? And you can go deeper into these different elements. We break down motivation, we break down ability into different kind of components. But this is just a framework that I picked these different types of behavioral frameworks, community frameworks, and I always just like to drop one on our guests kind of mind and brain. And just as I'm kind of explaining this or talking about it, I was hearing even some parallels of it while you were speaking in the back of my mind. So I'm curious, like, what comes to mind for you? Like hearing me explain this, like what kind of bubbles to the top of your brain? Is there anything that triggers for you at all?
So, from a normal community perspective, and like there are a few communities that have been passively running for a while, uh, this fits very well. It's a great framework. I've seen this once before. Not, I haven't thought actually in depth about this, but uh, for a normal community, uh, definitely this applies. Uh, the challenge with founder community is it's actually reverse of everything that we taught in community building. So for us, motivation becomes actually a filter. It's not something that we want to inculcate in founders. Uh, it's almost impossible to do that because you are telling them to work on something where their chances of success are less than 1%, right? Way less than 1%, actually. 1% is pretty optimistic. So they are going to fail. I can assure you they are going to fail. So out of 220 applications that we got, if I can find two that will succeed, that would be actually pretty cool. It just never happens. So we cannot afford to build motivation. In fact, what we do is reverse. We kill motivation. Like, at
It's a
least
filter.
my thesis is yes, to see how many doors or brick walls we can erect. And if they keep hammering on those walls, I'm like, okay, you have high motivation. Now come in. Now the door is open. We can get you the ability. That's not an issue. That's
Mm-hmm.
by studying a lot of Paul Graham stuff, YC stuff, old practices from Web 2, looking at what's happened since at least I've been seeing startups since 2017. So, what mistakes do typical Web3 founders make? Looking at thousands of startups data that we had collected at Builder's Tribe, the patterns repeat. So, ability, yes, I can spot
Mm-hmm.
the gaps and I can be like, hey, if you don't have a wedge, read that article. If you don't know hiring, read this book. If you want to do fundraising, here's a slide deck, just watch it. Or here's a video, watch it. Uh, that's actually pretty much what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
But while doing that, it's incredibly hard to do this with someone who's not motivated because their odds
100%.
are stacked against them. So community building is definitely interesting and exciting, but in some way it's become pretty routine. uh,
Yeah.
it's not it's not uh, it's not something that's I mean I can see like millions of people able to start a religion in next 10 years very easily. Like I'm at a place where Balaji is teaching people how to create countries, right? So, of course, there cannot be a country without a culture and a community feeling. So, I think millions of people are going to start communities. It's it's a great skill, and at least now it's pretty underrated, and very few people can do that. Uh, but it's been studied so much that you know what to do. Uh, Building a founder community is pretty much the epitome of what you can do. It's like building a community of athletes in some sense. And I keep saying this. Uh, if you are training Michael Jordan, which is what you want to do, like we want the founders who are coming in as input already to be that good in terms of motivation, you are not going to teach Michael Jordan how to shoot a three-pointer. You are just going to unblock their mind with whatever is stopping them from actually focusing while he's shooting. So if our input, which is the founders who've come to programs like this, is already great, which it has to be, otherwise no one succeeds, uh, then my job is to identify what's actually stopping them and unblock the hell out of it. Uh, it's usually very personal. Uh,
Hmm.
and ability is largely a bunch of resources. So
Mm-hmm.
when you see a gap that, okay, this founder cannot do pitches because there is some problem, usually we are directing them to resources. And these resources are pretty well established, largely on YouTube or on Twitter or on some YC blog, right? And they've been indexed. Everyone can use it. So I'm trying to see every time where's the frontier and can I slide towards that frontier slightly, and to be able to really uh, not have motivation as a thing that we can do, because it's very easy actually. Like jingoism in startups is very easy to just say, wow, yeah, you can do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And a lot of incubators in Web2 have tried doing that. They failed miserably because
Mm.
that doesn't attract the winners. These guys want hardness. So every time we start something, I say, hey, there's a surprise. And surprise is usually bad things, right? So mm, today I just tweeted saying there's a surprise, there's one good and bad one. What do you want? And everyone in our group said, I want both, which means their mindset is molded to the fact that my life is dedicated to do hard things. My life is not dedicated to do easy things here. I'm not here to do easy things because if it was easy, then someone else would have done it. So, what are we doing that creates $1 billion worth of value as a positive sum game? It's going to be hard. And if I'm not motivated enough, then no problem. Don't show up to the session. It's okay. It's not an issue. Sleep. There's a beautiful beach out there. Go enjoy. But these guys are not enjoying. They're still sitting here at like 1 a.m. and practicing their pitches, asking questions about their business. And I can assure you, no one's going to sleep till 3 here. It's just happening. I'm not even, we're not doing anything. But they're just people like that who
Hi.
are all in, right? Who are very, very all in. It's like their life depends on it in some way. And when we go very personal, I can see that. It's not that their life depends on it. All of them are smart enough to get like a $500,000 job. All of them are actually. They could get a job anywhere in Web3. But they're just like, no, I'm crazy enough to do this thing where I'm bound to fail. And then if they iterate enough without collecting too much trauma, someday they will be successful. And I want them to stay inside Monad community till the time they are successful. Maybe not this product, maybe not this play. Uh, it just happens that I met a friend who was running an incubator in 2013, and I was assisting him. I was not very involved, but I thought that batch was pretty stupid, like not the smartest minds. And I just did not follow what they're doing for the longest time. And I met this friend like a week before I arrived here, and he said, out of those 20 people, three of them are unicorns. And I was like, really? Like, yeah, if you put 20 smart, motivated people in a room, something's going to happen. We don't know what. But some of these people in high pressure, they actually become pretty, uh, okay. Mondragon is here. Oh, I can see a comment here. Okay. So Monet founders are pretty crazy, I think, but all of them are very dedicated to whatever they are doing. And uh, these people will actually eventually succeed, if not today, tomorrow, if they just keep showing up.
This is amazing, Pareen. And like, look at this. You're even getting some love from Mondragon as well, and from Carlos here as well. Shout out to Carlos. This is really
Hey,
really epic stuff.
Carlos.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, this is really interesting on how from the founder community side of things, motivation is like it's not something you like can educate or learn. It's something you go through. It's a mindset. It's like something that you're driven on. It's something that is ingrained in you, that there's this drive. To your point, you could easily take something else up that's an easier route, but you want to take the harder route. It's like a component of you want to like really push and drive something bigger, and see if you can kind of get through all the other side, right, of it all. So no, really really great explanation and just motivation around all that. And I really appreciate you. I know it's late, and I mentioned to you, I was like, we can probably go pretty quick through all this stuff, but the conversation has
Yeah,
just
I
been,
know.
it's been great. So we'll start to like wrap up here. I'll be pretty quick here on like, there's a tool that we like to share each time on an episode. We haven't covered POAP yet, but we've been using POAP quite in a versatile way, using it from like tracking for like as it is often with like attendance and different things, to building it into certain kind of campaigns as like a reward in different way for basically like keeping track of certain things. I really like that POAPs are on chain, so that's great for projects to have like on chain tracking of people who are going through different elements of their different campaigns, and then so you get this element of a lot of on chain data then as well. So it's POAP can also be this great tool to get lots of on chain data on community, understand your community more in that way. And there's a whole different like host of different ways that you can kind of integrate. It's a very versatile type of tool. And Patricio, who's the founder, he's shout out to him. He's such a great guy, very positive guy. Always a big smile on his face. Super happy to see every time I run into him at different conferences and whatnot, giving away POAP stickers and giving away POAP stuff himself. Just been grinding at it for a long time. Pretty high motivation there from his side, I guess you could say, on the mall. But yeah, I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on POAP, and then we'll move to some rapid fire before we close. But just gotta share a little bit of tools here and there.
I have a friend who's been working in POAP for, I think, more than a year now. He's here actually at Network School. Uh, every time I do a community call with one of the communities that I run, he shows up on a call and he distributes POAP like right there. And we
Yeah,
don't do much. And I just feel bad about like, why are you doing this? I think I have to be honest now because POAP is a startup as well.
yeah,
Uh, they can do a lot better by just doing less. It's super complicated and it's not very useful. At this point, I've given this feedback already to my friend, and I know he's communicated it to the people running the place. So I would love like it to be so simple that I could give it to my Web2 friends and they just use it for no reason. Like it should not have these many features that it has. This is a common problem that I call Swiss knife syndrome. You want to make
mm,
Swiss knife. You don't make Google day one. You just make the search engine day one, but the search engine is simple enough that anyone can use it. Then you launch email and this and that and 100 other things, like maps and photos, whatever. What POAP has done is actually brilliant because it is the most recognized uh, brand name in crypto for native people. But it could actually be the most used app by just being simple. Like POAP has so much potential. I feel bad about it not being so dead simple that a grandmother can use it. That should be how it should be. Having said that, I think I've collected a lot of POAPs and I've given out a lot of POAPs, and I love it for the nerdiness of it. It's pretty cool for sure to map what's happening. And I think it can become an identity layer someday for sure, because it has reputation already attached with it. So hopefully they, uh, I don't know what to recommend to them. They should read about Swiss knife syndrome on Twitter. And if they do, build a skateboard, like we call this building a skateboard before you build a car. You will have to really go small, but the loop has to be so simple, dead simple that anyone can use it. Uh, then you keep building complexity on top of it. That would be okay after you have so much traction. Uh, I think this has the potential to onboard the next billion users. There are how many schools in the world? Every school has attendance. So instead of twittering about POAP, they should actually go to schools in the whole world and be like, this is your attendance protocol. It goes on chain. And imagine what you could do with this data on how many students are attending, how many lectures, and what's happening here. Oof, the potential is just too big to think about. But yeah, see, this is the mode that I get into, and I don't want to get into because
Yeah,
POAP is definitely bigger than anything that I've ever built. So yeah,
it is true. I think this is funny that your perspective on that, because there's also what I see is that their biggest struggle was like a business model. Like, they operated free for so long, and like the struggles that you kind of get operating free for so long in different ways. And how do you, start to introduce a
I could
business
get
model?
them any amount of money that they need from VCs. You don't need a business model. What you need is to capture 80% of market share. Google didn't worry about the business model. Facebook social network famously, Mark Zuckerberg says, I don't want revenue. This is how great startups are built. That's the reality of life. I don't make the rules. You want to be bootstrapped and you want to really do this? Okay. But the greatest company in the world haven't been bootstrapped at all. And someone will quote one Hyperliquid example, I know, but please don't do that to yourself. If you were an outlier in Hyperliquid, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they also, Amazon like operating in deficit and for so long and having like a 20-year plan, 25-year plan, thinking long term. If you take investment to get back to those investors, not much of the industry is thinking as much like that. It seems, it's like it seems a lot of people are more in the short term kind of mindset, which, you know, is like granted from a component of how much it changes so quickly. It's hard not to like have an element from an investor perspective of thinking short term, because who knows what type of market stuff is going to be happening later. Hey, speaking of another tool, it looks like a new version of text expander is available for me. Honestly, it's a great tool. It lets you do little shortcut keyboard commands on your keyboard, and then it like pastes
Yeah,
like
text
a longer
replacement.
message.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's a good one. But anyways, let's start to wrap here. I got like the last just kind of um, rapid fire questions. Oops. I just, oh, interesting. They shuffled me around there. I can't see the screen. Oh, good. All right. So just a few minutes and as we wrap up here. All right. If you had to pick one word to describe a founder community, what would it be?
Mm, one word is extremely hard. Oh man,
Maybe two
one word,
words.
one word. Ooh. Sip and retain. Yeah, two makes sense.
What is it?
Sip and retain. Like you just ship on a weekly basis and you retain your customers.
Nice, nice. Um, any particular project right now that you want to shout out at all that's really like maybe on the high scale of the motivation from what you mentioned that is just like pushing really hard and driving that? Or if you
There
want
are
to shout
just
out a
too
few.
many of them. There are just too many
What
of
comes to
them
the
at
top of
this
your mind?
point. I think I have to give a shout out to Revo. Revo is a smart glasses. On one hand, it's incredible. The founders are super motivated, taking a risk with hardware, software, on chain. and AI all in one. It sounds ridiculous when I hear their pitch, but when I see the kind of work that they've done, it's unbelievable.
Nice, nice. What's any sort of tools being built out there that you're utilizing right now in your like kind of tech stack or recommending to founders? Any shout out to any tools in particular that's helpful?
Uh, I think we've got a bunch of tools here that actually they've partners who provided free credits to residency participants, right from Alchemy, QuickNote, maybe Turnkey, Vercel. Uh, I think the list just keeps going on and on and on.
Solid toolbox. Nice.
Yeah,
Well, cool, man. I know we're over the time, and just like reflecting on this episode, there's so much motivational content and really interesting insights as well on like founder communities and this ethos of like building founders and supporting founders and community design. So this has been really, really fun. I really appreciate your
same
time.
here.
Is there any
Thank you for
last?
having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Is there any last kind of message or comment that you want to leave with everybody?
Mm, I think I've said a lot already, but I enjoy being in this industry and working with amazing, smart, motivated people. Uh, I do believe I saw something today that stuck in my mind, like
Mhm.
why are we doing this? Uh, actually has impact. We tend to forget this in all the token hype and pumps and dumps and everything that's happening around. 99.99 of this is supposed to die anyway, and we're still doing it. So we must be the craziest of people out there, but that also makes us pretty rare. And the ones that end up succeeding, like Polymarket, actually will end up making history in ways that we can't imagine. Because I did see stuff like Facebook and Twitter be super small, and it felt like, what is this 140 character thing in 2009 when I signed up on Twitter? And from 2009 to 2021, I had maybe 300, 200 followers where I was just tweeting in a void. But for some reason, I was just tweeting because it felt like, I don't know, I belong here, right? Of course, we were all pretty crazy to even think that this matters in 2009. It just felt like this is some toy tool that, some young people are crazy about. Why are you spending so much time on this? Uh, Twitter turned an election in the US last year. Because of Twitter, I would say Donald Trump won, which is something that if you would have told me in 2009, I would have been like, crazy. You are not serious. Just get out of here. But it did happen. So today, amongst us, there are founders who
Mm.
are going to do this. The problem is we can only see it in the hindsight. So today we don't value these things, and all we can see is bad stuff. And I see a lot of people on Twitter who are just negative about the industry. Wow, why did this happen with Story Protocol? Whoa, what happened here? Why does this guy get sued? Come on, if you don't look past this, you're never going to survive to see the next Twitter. Imagine me deleting my Twitter account in 2010 because just there was nothing great happening there. Frankly, hardly anything great was happening there apart from Silicon Valley people tweeting different things, and I stayed for maybe reading Mark Anderson's tweet or something like that. But normal people, a lot of my friends just quit, and they don't know that what was going to happen last year. I didn't know what was going to happen last year in the election just because it's it's something that out of curiosity, I just stuck to it. So in Web3, there are definitely products that exist today which are going to be that big in terms of impact. right? And I'm not even talking about money and valuation and everything else, but just in terms of impact. Which ones? I don't know. We are all trying to figure out, and if we do know, please tell me so I can invest. But even though if I can, I would love to be part of that journey to just see something being built from scratch, take it to a level where it has such global impact. Good or bad, I am not sure, but it does have impact.
Wow, that's a really great way to close here. To the next Twitter, everyone keeping your eyes peeled and staying optimistic and driving. If you are one of the crazy people, shout out to you to keep being crazy, keep going, and yeah, and you can find Pareen here. This is his info. Definitely give him a follow. Stay up to date with the different things going on, and myself with Co-Unity. So thanks again, Pareen. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome.
I know it's late, so you're gonna ship
Thanks,
for
Dan.
another
It's been
another
great
two
talking to you.
hours. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
it's
really
okay.
has. It really has. It really has. So I value the time 100%. And yeah, I'm sure I'll see you around the world somewhere here soon.
For sure.
All right. See you later.
Bye, Dan.